joined today by Pennsylvania Secretary of Transportation Mike Carroll. So about a month ago, Governor Shapiro signed this year's state budget. What was included in this year's budget for transportation?
Well, thankfully, with the governor's leadership, we were able to decouple the second $125 million that was being transferred from PennDot to the state police. Like last year, the state police funding will come out of the general fund, and PennDot is the beneficiary of the preservation of an additional $125 million. So we're up to $250 million preserved for PennDot's program, and the state police fund that out of the general fund. And then secondarily, the $80 million for public transit, sort of the first installment. There's a sincere commitment by all parties to come back in the fall and address the remaining challenges that we have financially for transit agencies across the state, SEPTA, but all the others in every county.
Is there anything that was missing that you wish had been included?
Well, the transit funding, we got partial satisfaction, but, it's challenging. And that is the deepest end of the pool when it comes to legislating, trying to allocate funds that are competitive. And for transit funding, that comes out of the general fund, not out of PennDOT's motor license fund. And so that's a real challenge. But we're up to the challenge, and I'm optimistic that we can have success in the fall.
What did the budget include for roads and bridges?
Well, the additional $125 million from the state police, and to give you a sense of scope, that's 2 cents a gallon. It would be very difficult and unnecessary to run a bill to raise 2 cents a gallon on the gas tax. We are able to preserve that $125 million by not transferring over to the state police, but in fact keeping it. And so PennDOT's program, our delivery of road and bridge projects and maintenance projects across the state will be enhanced because of that additional $125 million.
Next year, a new fee will be enforced for electric vehicles. Why was this fee important to create?
Well, the current structure for electric vehicles, both plug-in and hybrid, it really wasn't working. It was a convoluted challenge for those kind of vehicle owners to be able to do a kilowatt-hour calculation, do some additional complicated math and division, and then come up with a fee and send it to the Department of Revenue. Instead of that structure, simply an enhanced registration fee for electric vehicles, plug-in and hybrid. Of course, plug-in a little higher than the hybrids. And this way, those folks, like motor fuel vehicles, will pay into the motor license fund. They use our roads and bridges. And it's most states are heading in this direction with an enhanced registration fee on EVs, both plug-in and hybrid.
What is the cost difference between the plug-ins versus the hybrids?
Well, it's a little convoluted. The first year, it's $200 for a plug-in electric vehicle and $50 for a hybrid. Don't forget the hybrids do purchase gasoline, so there's some allocation of revenue that comes from the hybrids when they actually fuel up.
Was there a specific reasoning behind that amount, or just because that would balance out how much they would pay in gas versus?
Well, when it comes to the $200 for an EV fee, an average vehicle owner driving an average number of miles per year pays about $300 in motor fuel taxes. That's what an average person pays. So $200 fee for electric vehicles, plug-in electric, approximates what somebody would pay if they were driving an internal combustion engine vehicle.
Pennsylvania received a $500 million investment for infrastructure as part of President Biden's infrastructure plan. Mm-hmm. How important is this funding? Hugely important. A huge win for Pennsylvania. The largest single grant that PennDOT's ever received for a single project, the I-83 bridge over the Susquehanna River. That bridge needs to be replaced, and it will be. The estimated cost is about $1.2 billion. So $500 million to help offset the cost of that is nearly a 50% contribution by the federal government. What matters for us is that $500 million is not just for the benefit of the folks of central Pennsylvania. It affects every single community in the entire state, because by freeing up that $500 million, we are able to continue our construction program from Erie to Philly, from Pittsburgh to Scranton. How did Pennsylvania get picked for this?
Well, PennDOT made an application. I visited Washington, D.C. and met with every member of Congress from Pennsylvania and our 2 U.S. senators and advocated. The governor advocated with the president, the vice president, and the secretary of transportation, U.S. secretary. And so it was a full court press by all of us at PennDOT and the administration, led by the governor, to advocate for the $500 million, and we're thrilled to get it.
Recently, Pennsylvania unveiled new welcome signs on the side of the road, and next year we'll have new license plates. What was the reason for this change?
The governor's vision. The governor thought that we could be a little bit more creative with the welcoming of folks to our great Commonwealth. The license plate, same thing. Let's have a little bit of creativity. Let's have a little newness. And let's have a little fun and make sure that people know that Pennsylvania is a great place to have a getaway.
How was the design selected?
There were the design team, both in the administration and a consultant that was hired, and there were a series of different alternatives. And at the end, the one that was selected, the Pennsylvania new plate and the welcome signs, I think are really great.
One thing that was left out of the budget that there had been discussions about between legislators, but they suggested that if they were to tax the state's skill game machines, that money would help transportation. Do you agree that would be helpful?
Well, I'll leave it up to the General Assembly to figure out where the revenue comes from. But I do know that we need additional funds for transit. And I know that a lot of members of the Senate in particular are interested in additional money for local roads and bridges, road and bridges that are owned by townships and boroughs and cities across the state. And so, working with the General Assembly, the Senate and House in the fall, we'll identify hopefully a funding stream that will allow the advancement of the transit funding that's necessary, but also a dedicated fund for local roads and bridge projects.
Lastly, a law was recently passed to allow construction vehicles to now have a flashing green light. What is the purpose of this light?
Just to make it a little safer for our folks that are out on the roadways. That's a dangerous job. And so a flashing green light catches somebody's attention because it's not the usual flashing yellow light that most folks are used to seeing on construction vehicles. So, a little bit of novelty, a little bit of just a way of catching people's attention to slow them down in work zones. It's just, it's tragic when we have an accident in a work zone where somebody is hit and injured or killed, and to the fact that in an effort to try and minimize those tragic accidents, I believe that the flashing green light really will help us.
We've been speaking with Pennsylvania Secretary of Transportation, Mike Carroll. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.